Hi, my name is Michael Wolf, also known as Menog on Twitch. On this episode, I'll be reading from Can We Live 150 Years by Mikhail Tombak. Sorry. Following topics for today's episode are incorrect diet, what we consume and what consumes us, the danger of refined foods, addiction to milk, the truth about meat, the time bomb, less flour, more power, we are what we eat, lack of internal body hygiene, autotoxication, and blood means life. So let's start with incorrect diet. What we consume and what consumes us. Most families in a contemporary household consider three criteria when buying their food. High in calories, that way we do not need to eat much of it. Fast and easy to prepare, we are too busy with other things. Easily absorbed without much chewing. Modern people do not use their teeth much and do not have time for chewing. Based on these criteria, meat seems to be better than vegetables because a small amount can satisfy our hunger. Pre-processed products are more in demand than the fresh ones because they do not require much work. Even store-bought juices are more often used than freshly squeezed ones. White bread and buns seem to be better than whole grain products because they are easier to chew. Refined rice and sugar look very attractive. Our progress society can arrange everything for our convenience. Even mothers do not need to worry about breastfeeding their babies. Baby formulas can substitute mother's milk. This kind of diet eventually harms even people with strong immune systems. Those with poor immunity start suffering much earlier. Children suffer the worst consequences of a poor diet. The danger of refined foods, sweet killer. Our desire to improve everything and to separate needed ingredients from the unneeded ones leads us to refining most of our food products. Our artificially improved food only seemingly has the same nutritious qualities as natural food. Artificial and natural foods have as little in common as silk roses with real ones. They only look similar. The same difference exists between synthetic and natural vitamins or synthetic margarine and real butter. The objective of refining food is to make it more attractive commercially. Cooking and other forms of temperature treatment causes the food to lose its biological information, the total content and position of chemical substances in natural products, acquired from the sun, the earth, and from water. Our body does not readily recognize and assimilate this sort of food. It has to draw from its own resources in order to make the food useful. Sugar beets and sugar acquired from them are a good example. Sugar beets are natural plant products containing many vitamins, mineral salts, enzymes, and hormones. On the contrary, sugar acquired from the beets is thoroughly refined, crystallized, and filtered. A poison, calcium chloride, is used to make it white. Let me read that again. A poison, calcium chloride, is used to make it white. It gets into our stomach as a chemically pure substance, sucrose, without any vitamins, mineral salts, or other biologically active substances. Pure sucrose cannot be assimilated. It has to be joined with other substances. Beets have all the necessary substances in them. Sugar does not. Our body is forced to use its own resources of calcium, iron, and other elements. This causes tooth decay, diabetes, anemia, etc. Research suggests that high consumption of sugar causes degeneration of blood vessels and individual cells, mutations, and eventually may lead to cancer. We do not consume sugar only with our coffee and tea. It is in our candies, biscuits, cakes, and soft drinks. There are countless products containing sugar. Because of high sugar consumption, the number of cases of diabetes, anemia, and blood cancers increased rapidly in the last 20 years in all developed countries. This is why parents and grandparents make a serious error when they treat children with candies and let them acquire a taste for sweets. The habit may be very difficult to eliminate later in the child's life. Moving on to addiction to milk. Addiction to milk, disease in a bottle. These days, it is common to substitute mother's milk with cow milk or baby formulas. Human breast milk is rich in lactose that creates an environment that is favorable for the development of friendly bacteria in the baby's large intestine. Cow's milk contains certain types of proteins and antibodies not possible for a baby to digest. These substances, instead of regular fermentation, undergo rotting in the baby's intestine when the baby is fed with cow's milk or other substitutes. This causes autotoxication and imbalance in the microflora and leads to the degeneration of the baby's intestine. Substitutes do not have the biological information contained in mother's milk. And that's because the baby constantly, and that causes the baby to constantly feel hungry and require frequent feeding. Because of that, starch and meat products are usually sooner included in the diet. The baby's digestive system is not fully formed, therefore it is not ready to digest and absorb these products. Certain necessary enzymes are not present in it. We can notice that many children, 2 to 5 years old, constantly have a mucus substance under their noses. It is caused by too much protein and starch in their diet. Artificial diet eventually destroys our children's immune system. They become vulnerable to all kinds of infections, such as frequent colds, runny nose, flu, and pneumonia. Babies fed this way are in most cases allergy sufferers. We cannot predict all possible health problems caused by the absence of breast milk in our baby's diet. Every future mother ought to know that nothing can substitute mother's breast milk. It is a natural food for her babies. No formula contains information about love, sensitivity, tenderness, or ways to avoid disasters and diseases. All this information comes from the mother and is encoded in her breast milk. If a pregnant woman's diet consists mainly of sweets, white flour products, dairy products, cow milk, coffee, fried or baked meat, and other refined products, her child is going to suffer serious health consequences. It is even worse when she smokes cigarettes. Who needs ulcers? The content of iron in cow's milk is very low. Besides drinking its mother's milk, a calf also eats grass. Nature provided its digestive organs with the ability to separately digest milk and grass. Our digestive system is built differently. When cow's milk gets into our stomach, acidic digestive juices cause it to coagulate and form sticky matter similar to cheese. This cheese, in quotes, encloses pieces of other food in the stomach. The coagulated milk has to be digested before the other food. If this process occurs frequently, it can cause disorders of our digestive system, specifically ulceration of our stomach and duodenum. Do we really want our body to become a milk processing plant that brings us ulcers instead of expected benefits? The main argument of milk drinking proponents is the high content of proteins, amino acids, and calcium in milk. I do not entirely agree with this argument, and I will explain why. Indigestible casein. Indigestible casein. No mammals in the world except humans consume milk when they are grown up. It would not be in accordance with nature. In the case of cats, we taught them to drink milk. However, it has been proven that cats live twice as long if they do not drink milk. The difference between human milk and cow's milk is the high content of casein in the latter. Casein is a protein needed by the calf for building its hoofs and horns. A calf drinks its mother's milk only in the first 6 months of its life. Human beings do not have hoofs or horns. Why would they need so much casein? Firstly, we do not need as much protein as much of us include in our diet. Our large intestine has a special kind of bacteria able to synthesize proteins from carbohydrates contained in plant-based foods if the intestinal microflora is healthy. Secondly, our body contains all elements found in Mendeleev's table and all chemical compounds it needs. Even though only 40% of them are supplied by the food we eat, where do the compounds come from? They are synthesized in our body. It has a perfect chemical laboratory created by nature, with its capacity ranging from synthesizing amino acids to producing healing formulas, hormones, etc. Let's go back to the synthesis of proteins. The air we inhale contains 80% more nitrogen, the main ingredient of amino acids, than the air we exhale. What happens with all that nitrogen? Our body uses it in the synthesis of amino acids. We can live eating very small amounts of animal proteins for a year, 2 years, or even longer without any danger to our health as long as we have air to breathe and eat enough vegetables and fruits. On the other hand, eating only proteins can result in our death in just 1 month. In Shaolin Monastery, people condemned to death were fed only meat and they died in 20 to 40 days. Let me read that again. In Shaolin Monastery, people condemned to death were fed only meat and they died in 20 to 40 days. When planning our diet, we ought to follow the proportions created by nature in women's milk, a high content of simple carbohydrates and low protein content. Unfortunately, we do not always understand such hints given to us by nature. Casein contained in milk is broken down in the stomach by rennet. R-E-N-E-N-T. I'm not sure what that is. Children 1 to 2 years old already have hair and nails and do not need casein. It's spelled C-A-S-E-I-N. Their digestive system does not produce remnant. Oh, that was remnant. R-E-N-N-E-T. Not sure what that means. Anymore. And casein becomes indigestible, even poisonous. Undigested casein is a source of lumps in various parts of our body, forms kidney stones, clogs our blood vessels, and deforms our fingers. Let me read that again. Undigested casein is the source of lumps in various parts of our body, forms kidney stones, clogs our blood vessels, and deforms our fingers. Other undigested cow milk ingredients build up in the form of mucus substances in our tissues and tendons. Mucus is a substance swarming with disease-causing bacteria. Natural therapists believe that cow's milk is the source of mucus substances in our body throughout our entire life. This is why cow milk drinkers often make their body a host for bacteria that causes diseases such as flu, colds, asthma, bronchitis, and many others. There is another fact worth mentioning. Today's milk is also harmful, especially for children, because of environmental pollution. Calcium milk Calcium in milk is always found together with radioactive strontium 90. Radioactive strontium 90. Its molecular, its molecular structure is similar to that of calcium but larger. When strontium 90 gets into our body, its molecules replace calcium molecules in our skeletal system. This is why milk drinkers have enlarged limbs, especially fingers and toes, and others suffer from hip and knee joints disorders. Calcium, fat, and cholesterol. There is no denying that milk is rich in calcium, the element necessary for the development of our bones. What about nuts, cabbage, carrots, beets, or poppy seeds? In fact, they contain more calcium in an easily absorbable form in an ideal proportion with other ingredients. Milk also contains animal fat, and as we know, fat increases our levels of cholesterol, the main cause of heart attack, diseases, and circulatory problems. This is the main reason why milk is skimmed. However, the natural proportion of ingredients is destroyed in the process. Drinking such milk interferes with our body's ability to run its phosphorus calcium economy in a balanced manner. Consequently, our ability to absorb calcium is decreased. Poor calcium absorption is one of the main causes of future osteoporosis. Skimming milk is supposed to save our circulatory system. Such is the common opinion I do not agree with, but it ruins our skeletal system. Are we really so addicted to milk that we are willing to risk our health? Products such as plain yogurt, cheese, etc. are different. They are safe to consume in small quantities, even beneficial, especially if they have natural fat content. They are specifically recommended for the elderly and children. The bacteria found in those products perform most of the processing that our bodies would have to do at a great expenditure of its own resources: vitamins, minerals, salts, macro and micro elements. Quitting the addiction. All these arguments are probably not going to persuade those for whom milk and dairy products are the main part of their diet. It is not easy to quit a lifelong addiction. If you cannot quit drinking milk, at least switch to goat milk. It is low in casein and fat and resembles human milk in its content. If you continue drinking cow's milk, watch for such symptoms as intestinal pains, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, increased pain in bones and joints. To drink or not to drink, that is your own decision. The truth about meat, the time bomb. I would like to say a few words about meat, a product I do not recommend for everyday consumption. Consuming large amounts of animal proteins, meat, dairy, etc., in amounts exceeding our body's daily demand causes rotting processes, constipation, and poisoning of the body by lactic, oxalic, and uric acid. The three main culprits responsible for joint diseases, back pain, osteoporosis, and other mobility reducing disorders. Meat itself does not have taste nor smell, so we fry, cook, and season it to improve its taste. When meat is processed, it releases about 20 poisonous substances that can cause damage to blood vessels and the nervous system. Let me read that again. When meat is processed, it releases about 20 poisonous substances that can cause damage to blood vessels and the nervous system. The digestion of meat requires large amounts of vitamins and microelements. If we do not eat adequate amounts of raw vegetable salads together with meat, digestion is incomplete and the undigested meat putrefies in our intestines. The putrefaction processes increase the alkalinity of our large intestine, which leads to blood acidity. Alkaline environment promotes the development of diseased cells, especially cancerous. Those who excessively consume meat are the prime candidates for cancer. Let me read that again. Those who excessively consume meat are the prime candidates for cancer. There is one more fact that requires your attention. Excessive consumption of animal protein, especially in early childhood, puts us at risk of immune system disorders. The digestion of meat needs large amounts of vitamins and microelements that are taken from the child's blood. Depleted levels of these substances cause the development of hidden anemia and blood diseases. Ironically, all kinds of allergies and other disorders, typically for the age of puberty, are usually the result of our parents' well-intended care. Unaware of the dangers, they cause damage to their children's health by including too much meat in their diet. Eastern philosophy teaches that each food product we consume contains information about its place of birth and development, the climate, the exposure to sun rays, moonlight, etc. What kind of information can be contained in meat? Times when cattle were grazing on green pastures are long over. Times when cattle, they are raised their entire lives without sunlight or fresh air. Instead of eating fresh, juicy grass, they are fed hormones and various synthetic feeds. When we buy a shapeless piece of meat, we do not think that it was once a part of a lovable animal that was killed by electrocution. It is naive to believe that animals do not sense impending death in their last moments. They sense it very clearly. Faced with aggression and driven by fear, a slaughtered animal's body produces large amounts of poisonous hormones, which we consume later as we enjoy our steaks. No wonder that both adults and children become increasingly aggressive and hot-tempered. Aggression always breeds aggression. This old truth is confirmed by the results of high meat consumption. In recent years, 1999 to 2002, the number of mad cow disease (BSE) cases in Western Europe has grown to epidemic proportions. Cattle affected by BSE experience a complete degeneration of their nervous system. Sections of their brain tissue turn spongy. Instead of feeding cattle exclusively with plant-based food, the industry started using animal proteins in the form of meat and bone meal. BSE is a vivid example of physiological changes that can be caused by eating improper food. To prevent the spread of BSE, whole herds of cattle are slaughtered and incinerated. May God prevent children whose diet is based on meat from the consequences of unnatural feeding practices in the cattle industry. Moving on to less flour, more power. Refined flour makes us suffer. Let's take a look at flour, a common product in our households. It is made from grains. Unrefined flour contains vitamins B, PP, and F, minerals, salts, enzymes, and other ingredients needed in our body. A grain consists of 85% starch, 15% biological coating. The substances contained in the coating allow us to break down and absorb the starch. Refined flour does not have the coating. It is poor in vitamins, enzymes, and minerals. Let me read that again. Refined flour does not have the coating. It is poor in vitamins and enzymes and minerals. The digestion of white bread or buns requires a number of substances that are removed in the refining process. Our digestive system is going to take them from our body's resources. Refined flour is hard to digest. Undigested starch remains in the fat layers of our body. We know what happens to flour when it is mixed with warm water. It expands and forms a glue-like substance. Refined flour behaves the same way in our intestines, slowing the digestion of other foods and forming gallstones or bladder stones. We add substances such as food coloring, aromas, acidity, modifiers, stabilizers, and thickeners in order to make our breads, buns, cakes, biscuits, and other refined flour products more attractive. What happens with these additives? They remain in the body and gradually poison us. They cause our muscles and joints to stiffen. This is how white flour products can cause us a lot of suffering. The danger of yeast. The production of practically all types of bread involves the use of yeast. When we bake, yeast spores constantly float in the air and land on the bread's surface. The spores travel with bread to our digestive tract where they become active. There has been some American research showing that baker's yeast activates cancerous cells in our body. When we eat leavened bread, we turn our digestive tract into a battlefield between yeast and our natural intestinal microflora. Since we start eating bread in our childhood, a healthy intestinal microflora is a rarity. Constipation, bloating, and digestive tract diseases are often effects of consuming large amounts of bread and various other baked goods made from refined flour with the use of baker's yeast. Still on the less flour, more power topic. Unleavened bread, made solely from wheat flour and water without yeast. Leavened bread was invented in Egypt about 15,000 years ago, and its negative effects have been known for a long time. Many nations, in order to preserve their populations, avoided leavened bread, and they recorded this custom in the form of religious commandments. For example, in the Bible, we read, "Nothing leavened may you eat. Wherever you dwell, you may eat only unleavened bread." It is very wise and useful advice. The idea of giving up raised white bread and buns may be shocking for some people, but if you value your health, you should consider taking that step. You are better off eating bread made of unrefined flour without the use of yeast. If you continue eating leavened bread, do not eat it fresh. After 1 to 2 days, yeast is not active or harmful anymore. Let me repeat that. After 1 to 2 days, yeast is not active or harmful anymore. You can make it more attractive by toasting it, making biscuits, etc. The vicious circle. All refined grains lose valuable substances contained in their coating and become pure starch that is hard to absorb. Unrefined grain products are much better for our health in general. Refined foods such as dairy products, chips, baked goods, etc. usually contain not enough water and too much sugar or salt. We usually have to follow them by a drink to quench our thirst. This creates a vicious circle. Refined food stimulates our thirst. We drink more fluids. They dilute digestive juices in our stomach and digestion is incomplete. Salt irritates our stomach, so we drink more to neutralize it. This way we eat and drink almost continuously. Consequently, we fill our bodies with fluids, gain weight, and feel tired. Our diet and our mood. Diet, by the way, just means a lifestyle. The Japanese like to joke if a couple starts their way with a fight, they should recall what they ate the previous day. As this simple saying points out, refined products damage not only our physical health but also influence our mind. Some American psychologists believe that by reducing sugar, meat, and coffee in our diet or lifestyle, we can reduce aggressive behavior by 50%. See, diet does matter. Let me repeat that. Some American psychologists believe that by reducing sugar, meat, and coffee in our diet, sugar, meat, and coffee, we can reduce aggressive behavior by 50%. Our ancestors realized the importance of that fact much earlier. There is a saying in the East: God created food and the devil created a chef. Puts a spin on the Food Network, doesn't it? One could ask, how can I live without meat, white bread and buns, coffee, sweets, chocolate, etc.? Use your imagination. Use your imagination. There are a great variety of foods provided by nature. When you crave a lot, you can still have a candy, a piece of your favorite cake, or a slice of smoked meat, but you have to remember that they are poisons. We are what we eat. Alright, more than halfway there. The health of our digestive tract, from your teeth to your large intestine, depends largely on your understanding of the following information. Let's look at our typical sandwich, usually including bread or a bun, butter, and some kind of deli meat, followed by a drink or pop, coffee or tea. Bread is calcified as a carbohydrate food, butter belongs to fat, and meat belongs to the protein food group. The combination of these products forms in our stomach a mixture that is hard to digest. Carbohydrates are digested in our mouth and partially in the duodenum, while proteins in our stomach and duodenum. Different digestive juices are produced for that purpose, and they need different amounts of time to perform their functions. When butter gets into our stomach, the action of those juices is suppressed. The digestive process slows down and food remains in the stomach for a long time. When we follow it by a drink, pop, coffee, tea, we wash undigested food and acidic digestive juice from our stomach to the duodenum. The duodenum has an alkaline environment. The acidic digestive juice damages the mucus lining in the duodenum and causes its inflammation and with time ulceration. Then the undigested remains of food reach the large intestine, where undigested bread causes rotting processes and the dairy products become stagnant fecal matter. I gotta read that again. Let me go back. The acidic digestive juice damages the mucus lining in the duodenum and causes its inflammation and, with time, ulceration. Then the undigested remains of food reach the large intestine, where undigested bread causes rotting processes and the dairy products become stagnant fecal matter. We will soon find out how these deposits affect our health. Some people cannot imagine life without sandwiches. I am not against sandwiches as such. We can eat sandwiches consisting of bread, butter, and some tomato or cucumber. We can also enjoy a slice of cheese or smoked meat wrapped in lettuce. However, a sandwich made of bread, butter, and some kind of deli meat product is a combination most harmful for our digestive tract. It is an example of incorrect combinations of food products that can damage your health. From what kind of food should we get our life energy? The kind that grows in the sunlight is the best source of energy for us. The sun is a universal energy source for every living organism. Nature gave plants the ability to absorb and accumulate sun energy that is later available for our use. Nutrition influences not only our health but also our longevity. We know how to calculate calories we consume in a day. Our daily mixed diet, including ice cream, coffee, candy, etc., gives us about 2,500 calories. According to scientific calculations, an average person uses up about 50 million calories in the lifetime. Based on it, let's try to calculate the average lifetime assuming mixed diet. If we divide 50 million calories lifetime use by 25 calories daily use, we get 20,000 days or 55 years. Now try to calculate what should be the average lifetime of those who eat natural products and use about 1,000 calories a day. So 50 million divided by 1,000 a day gives us 50,000 days or 137 years. It is not just arithmetic anymore, we are talking about our life. So basically, if you cut down half and are able to get energy from that, you should live longer. It is a scientific fact that there is one vegetarian for 1,000 meat eaters in the age group under 60. In the 70 and over group, the proportion is 100 to 1,000. Over the age of 80, there are 600 vegetarians for 1,000 meat eaters. I would like to add that diet based only on the calorie count is wrong from the physiological point of view. It is not the initial calorie content of the food that matters, but how much energy we actually obtain from it when it is digested. Even though plant-based foods represent lower calorie content, net energy our body receives after their digestion is still higher. This is why a bowl of buckwheat makes us feel light and ready to do some work. In contrast, eating a portion of meat makes us feel like having a cup of coffee and going to sleep. Many people associate meat consumption with strength and energy. In reality, meat only stimulates our nervous system in a similar way narcotics do. Let me repeat that. Many people associate meat consumption with strength and energy. In reality, meat only stimulates our nervous system in a similar way narcotics do. Still on the we are what we eat topic. The important thing in our food is the balance of ingredients: proteins, carbohydrates, fats, minerals, vitamins, and microelements. If their amounts are properly balanced, as they are in natural foods, our body uses only small amounts of energy for digestion. Most energy can be used for cleaning up toxins and making repairs. All artificial foods lack the perfect balance of ingredients. Their digestion becomes a very complex task and uses up all energy contained in those products. In some cases, digestion requires more energy than the food contains. It takes large amounts of such foods to kill hunger. On one hand, we try to control the number of meals we eat. On the other hand, we still have to deal with obesity. We put unnecessary stress on our body by trying weight reduction programs and remedies. The programs end and obesity comes back. The conclusion is no program, diet, or chef can balance the amounts of proteins, fat, carbohydrates, vitamins, and microelements in our meals in the same way they are balanced in plant-based products. Not everyone has to be a vegetarian. I do not want to be misunderstood. Not everyone has to become a vegetarian. I'm not trying to convince you to stay away from all earthly pleasures and blessings that give life half of its charm. We can have feasts in our life when we are allowed to eat all kinds. We can have feasts in our life when we are allowed to eat all kinds of foods. But on ordinary days, we should stick to what is healthy for our body. Use moderation in eating because it is one of the basic conditions of our survival. Illness on the plate. A commission of the World Health Organization did some research in a few Tibetan monasteries. It turned out that the monks were physically fit and almost completely healthy. There was no tooth decay, circulatory disorders, or digestive disorders in 60% of the cases. Their diet is very modest. They do not have refrigerators or natural gas stoves. They never eat meat, sugar, or any refined product. The main item on their menu are barley cakes, herbal tea, and clear water. Turnips, carrots, and rice enrich the diet in the summertime. Ironically, in such developed countries as the USA, Germany, or France, where the consumption of milk, meat, refined products, and a wider selection of food types is the greatest, the general health level is poor. In the USA, for example, 2 families out of 3 have been touched by cancer. 2 people out of 5 suffer and die from heart problems, and many suffer from diabetes. Chronic diseases affect 19% of the population, close to 1 out of 5 people. In Germany, 20% of the population suffers from diabetes, and 20% of the children aged 8 to 16 have developmental problems, both physical and intellectual. Rheumatism and joint inflammations affect 15 to 17% of the people. In France, 15 to 20% of the people have allergies. There are 450,000 children under 18 with hearing and sight problems, and 1.5 million children aged 6 and under suffer from asthma. In all industrialized countries, the number of children born with some kind of health disorder doubled in the last 25 years. An old Tibetan adage teaches most people get ill for one of 2 reasons: overeating or hunger. As it turns out, we often use forks and spoons to dig our own graves. The knowledge allowing us to use the correct diet lifestyle is very important. It is not enough to prepare tasty meals. We need to know how to properly nurture our bodies. In the chapter Food, page 101, you can find answers to questions about combining products correctly to enhance your health. Yeah, I'm glad it mentioned that, because here it has table 2 containing food products. Basically, protein-rich foods such as meat and meat soups, fish, eggs, eggplant, beans, Windsor beans, nuts, sunflower seeds, plain yogurt, kefir, cottage cheese, and buttermilk can be combined with grease, butter, vegetable oil, fruits, raw or dried, vegetables, raw or dried also, except for potatoes, fruit and vegetable juices. It is better to always consume milk, dry wine, melon, and bananas separately from other products. Now, breads and other flour-based products, those are carbohydrate foods. Grains, potatoes, sugar, honey, products containing sugar, pasta, jams, and candies can only be combined with what I just read before: grease, butter, vegetable oil, fruits, raw or dried vegetables, raw or dried except potatoes, fruit and vegetable juices. It is better to always consume milk, dry wine, melon, and banana separately. So what you have to understand is, don't eat breads and other flour-based products with stuff like meat, eggs, eggplant, sunflower seeds. Don't mix proteins with carbs. Always mix carbs with what I've mentioned earlier, just to replay it if it went too fast. Now, where was I? Ah, yes. Lack of eternal body hygiene. Look after your health as carefully and tenderly as you look after your car. We hear from our childhood about that's what it is. We hear from our childhood about external body hygiene, but we know little about internal hygiene. However, the condition of our internal organs determines much of our external appearance. Each owner keeps his car clean inside and outside. Best quality oil and fuel are used. Why don't we care for our health with an equal sense of responsibility? We don't clean the inside of our car for a year. If we don't clean the inside of our car for a year, there will be plenty of dirt and dust. Most people never clean the inside of their body. Usually around the age of 40, their body is so tired of poisons, harmful deposits, and unfriendly bacteria that it becomes susceptible to disease. Our body is built of cells. Nature created us in such a way that every second as many new cells are built as many old ones die. In a constantly poisoned body, there are more old cells than new ones. This kind of unhealthy imbalance causes disease and the degeneration of our body as we age. The evolution began from a simple single-cell organism with two openings, one for taking food in and one for discharging waste. All life processes happen between those two openings. If the process of waste discharge malfunctions, the cell dies. It is a simple but perfect model. Our body contains billions of cells, but the general principle is still the same, as malfunctioning waste discharge system causes diseases and death. Not many of us know that a grown person's large intestine contains 8 to 15 kilograms, that's 17 to 33 pounds of hardened fecal material that we carry around all life long. I think I should repeat that. Not many of us know that a grown person's large intestine contains 8 to 15 kilograms, 17 to 33 pounds of hardened fecal material that we carry around all life long. Usually, after the age of 40, our large intestine is so full of fecal matter that it crowds out other organs and interferes with the functioning of our liver, kidneys, and lungs. It is a considerable cause of many diseases. Let me explain how it works. All food products are commonly divided into four groups. Proteins, meat, fish, etc. Eggs are meat, fish, eggs, etc. Carbohydrates, bread, honey, candy, potatoes, etc. Fats, butter, oil, grease, etc. Fruits and vegetables, fruit juices. The digestion of most of carbohydrates, fruits and vegetables starts in the mouth and continues in the small intestine. Fats and proteins are digested in the stomach. Eating meat and potatoes together is enough to cause digestive problems. Eating meat and potatoes together is enough to cause digestive problems. We do not think about different digestion times for different food products. However, the digestion of potatoes takes about 1 hour. Meat needs 3 to 7 hours to be digested. A lot of our body's energy that can be used for life processes and fighting disease is wasted on digestion and disposing waste from a dinner consisting of incorrectly combined food products. Remains of undigested food get into our large intestine, separate from digested food, and form layers of stagnant fecal matter. Our large intestine is like a pot containing fertile soil in the form of digested food. The body is like a plant. The walls of the large intestine are lined with roots that, like roots of a plant, absorb nutritious substances into our blood. Each group, each group of roots nurtures a specific organ. Useless waste is discarded. What happens with the undigested chunk? During the next meal, a new chunk sticks to the old one, then another one. Undigested food sticks to the large intestine's walls. We carry around with us a few pounds of those chunks. It is not hard to imagine what happens with food products stored, in quotes, for many years in temperatures above 97 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 36 degrees Celsius. The intestine still performs its absorbing function under this layer of filth and delivers toxins, carcinogenic substances, products of decay to the body. Obviously, this is not a good material for building healthy cells. The toxins circulate with blood and gradually ruin our health. We can conclude from the above that we can never have only a single diseased organ. The entire body is ill. One organ gives in first, but treating it does not solve the problem. When we treat a specific illness, we treat the local symptom of a bigger underlying problem. The pollution of the whole body. While we treat a specific disorder, the main culprit remains untreated and is ready to strike anywhere. The poisoned intestine is constantly delivering toxic substances to the entire body. It becomes the source of general poisoning, deposits of stagnant fecal matter from hard-earned layers. The huge sack of waste pushes internal organs out of their proper places, creates pressure on the diaphragm, and eliminates it from the breathing process, lowering significantly the capacity of our lungs. The liver is pushed out of its place, there is pressure on the kidneys, the small intestine does not have enough space for its movements, men find their genital urinary systems crowded. The lower section of the rectum is put under most stress. Overworked veins expand and form bloody lumps. A poisoned large intestine can cause countless problems and diagnosis of diseases. A poisoned large intestine can cause countless problems and diagnosis of diseases is unpredictable. In the worst case scenario, last stages of cancer, In the worst case scenario, last stages of cancer, the passage of waste in the large intestine is completely blocked and the body dies poisoned by its own toxins, autotoxication. Alright, moving on to autotoxication. Autotoxication, self-poisoning, is the worst enemy of our health. It is the cause of many diseases because all of them begin in poisoned blood. Ancient physicians and healers of Egypt and Tibet knew long ago the fundamental principle: good health requires maintaining our intestines in perfect order. Good health requires maintaining our intestines in perfect order. See how that works? Many diseases enter our body through the mouth, said Hippocrates. As usual, he was right. We tend to eat many cooked and flour-based products combined with butter and sugar along with proteins, meat, dairy products, cheese, dairy, eggs. Because our digestive system is not able to completely process meals containing a variety of different foods mixed together, the walls of our large intestine become lined with chunks of undigested food. The large intestine's environment is warm and humid. Remains of undigested food become a mass full of unfriendly bacteria. They produce toxins, poisonous byproducts of their own metabolism. The walls of our large intestine absorb these toxins. They circulate with blood and gradually poison our body. As we can see, overeating and improper combining of food products causes most damage to our intestinal tract. Unusual coloring of the tongue, bad breath, sudden headaches, dizziness, apathy, sleepiness, heaviness in the lower abdomen, and bloating can all be results of autotoxication caused by constipation. The absence of bowel movement for more than 24 hours in an obvious case of constipation is an obvious case of constipation and definitely requires a remedy. It is no secret that 60% of people suffer from chronic constipation. Let's point out the main reasons for such unhealthy conditions of most people's large intestine. Consuming food rich in calories and low in volume. We often kill hunger by having a sandwich followed by a drink of pop, tea, or coffee. Due to its small volume, the sandwich produces little fecal material in the large intestine and does not create enough pressure on the bowels to cause defecation. We might not feel any need for bowel movement for a few days. Consuming excessive volumes of food. It has been known for a long time that people eat 3 to 5 times as much as it is necessary for their bodies. When we overeat, not all food can be absorbed and some of it starts rotting. Our intestines become a battlefield between the friendly bacteria and the disease-causing bacteria. The discharge of waste is suspended until this battle is over. Consuming large amounts of coffee and flour-based products, bread, pastry, without enough products rich in fiber, that would make our large intestine work hard. Blood means life. Our body is built of cells. Cells from tissues. Cells form tissues. And tissues build organs. Organs are parts of organ Organs are parts of organ system, nervous, skeletal, etc. And all systems are closely interconnected. Cells get nutrients from blood. Blood sustains life as long as it is saturated with energy, microelements, hormones, and vitamins. Only blood free of poisons can build healthy cells, bones, skin, hair, and teeth. Blood polluted with toxins caused by frequent constipation becomes a source of self-poisoning. According to some statistics, in 9 cases out of 10, women with breast cancer have observably slower intestine function. Had they had preventive procedures, the cleaning of their large intestine, done 10-15 years earlier, they probably would have never gotten breast cancer or any other kind of cancer. I feel like I should reread this. So, according to some statistics, in 9 cases out of 10, that's 9 out of 10, 90%, women with breast cancer have observably slower intestine function. Had they had preventative procedures, the cleaning of their large intestine, done 10-15 years earlier, they probably would have never gotten breast cancer or any other kind of cancer. The microflora of the large intestine. There are over 500 kinds of bacteria in our large intestine. In a healthy intestine, these bacteria complete the digestion of food and destroy other disease-causing bacteria. They also produce essential vitamins, hormones, enzymes, and amino acids. Eating large amounts of animal proteins causes constant putrefaction processes in our large intestine and results in emission of methane. This poisonous gas destroys bacteria that produces B vitamins and prevent our body from producing cancerous cells. As we can see, the absence of only one kind of bacteria can cause countless complications to our health. Large intestine, the fuse of our health. Nature provided us with a robust immune system. The large intestine is an important part of it. Each segment of the intestine stimulates a specific organ in our body. If our large intestine is healthy, no diseases can threaten us. However, if there are unhealthy deposits in our intestine or its microflora is out of balance, our health is in danger. On the picture, we can see possible diseases caused by deposits in our large intestine. I don't know if you could see that. Here are some external symptoms of unhealthy large intestine: bloating, constipation, gas, black stains on the teeth, gray, white, or yellowish color of the tongue, warts and freckles on the skin. 7 cleaning systems in our body. There are 7 systems responsible for cleaning mucus, stars, and other filth out of our body. These systems are the large intestine, the liver, the kidneys, fat tissue, muscles and tendons, nose, ears, and eyes, lungs, and skin. When one of our internal cleaning systems is not able to do its job, the next system is turned on. For example, if the large intestine and liver cannot complete the cleaning task, the systems connected with the nose, eyes, skin, and lungs take over. The result is rashes, allergies, runny nose, phlegm coughed up from the lungs from time to time, and secretion from the eyes. In such cases, people use nose drops, put compresses on their eyes, or rub medicated creams onto their skin. All these measures only fight the symptoms. The treatment is usually long, costly, and ineffective. Hippocrates said, "Each illness has its cause, and the cause cannot be removed by any medication." Each illness has its cause, and the cause cannot be removed by any medication. The medication or hospital care cannot cure us from bad habits that result in the internal contamination of our body. If we closely examined our internal cleaning systems, we would find out that in most cases they are in terrible condition. The large intestine is so contaminated that our blood absorbs more filth than useful substances from it. The liver or gallbladder are so plugged with stones, cholesterol, and dark green bile that the process of filtering toxins out of blood is suppressed. The kidneys are not able to do their function because they are stuffed with sand and stones. Really? Stuffed with sand? Salty deposits on the bones and joints cause pain with every movement of the neck, arms, or knees. The joints produce a crunching sound when they return to their resting position. How can we expect to feel healthy with so much internal contamination in our body? Our body's ability to complete the cleansing tasks on its own depends on the level of contamination. The levels of internal body contamination. First, the constant feeling of fatigue despite a healthy body appearance. Second, headaches and bone pains. Third, many types of allergies. Fourth, cysts, lumps, stones, and obesity. Fifth, deformed internal organs, bones, and joints. Sixth, nervous system diseases. And seventh, the degeneration of cells and organs, eventually leading to cancers. You can determine the level of your body's internal contamination by watching the symptoms. If you notice symptoms of the second and third level, you do not have much time to waste. Start the procedure of complete body cleansing as soon as possible, ASAP. Can we be proud of our human ways? I'll end on this couple chapters. If we wanted to live by nature's laws, we would use the blessings of sunlight, air, water, and land. We got used to processed foods which have to be sweet, tasty, cooked, and warm. This is why our body cannot live and function to its full potential. No pills are going to cure us when our blood is contaminated with poisons. No pills are going to cure us when our blood is contaminated with poisons. Diseases cause permanent damage to our health. Our heart becomes weak and our brain dies. We have two choices: put up with the illness and expect a premature death, or clean up our body's dirty swamp and adopt a healthy lifestyle. That's about it. Once again, the book is Can We Live 150 Years? If you enjoyed what I read so far, it would be awesome if you could buy it. And thank you for listening.